Welcome everyone to the Lofi Poli Sci podcast. I'm your host, Michael Pickering. That's right, Lo-Fi's and low fidelity, low quality, in your face, messy as can be global news show. Here we're going to talk about that famous question, what's going on in the world today? We'll be covering 5 headlines from across the globe and then choose one to go into a more detailed analysis. This week we begin new segments, the compression of our lessons. We've been doing weekly Wednesdays with Transparency International. Thursdays feature on Reporters Without Borders, and Freedom House Fridays, all covering a different country each day. But from here on out, now we're using all 3 of these each Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday together to tell us even more about the countries we cover. Simply put, country profiles, lo-fi style. For our third story today, we'll be focusing on the country of Tanzania. But first, the news fresh off the press. Source, Reuters World News. Bosnia and Croatia arrest 8 suspected migrant smugglers. In a joint raids by Europol, Bosnia, and Croatia, authorities were able to stop illegal smuggling of 45 migrants. The implications. Although no details were given about the migrants, we do know that they arrived via a smuggling route through Turkey. Theoretically, the migrants were attempting to reach EU countries for sanctuary. That being said, migrants using smugglers to enter countries illegally is a very dangerous thing for them to do. In many cases, the smugglers are really human traffickers, and while migrants are aiming for one destination for freedom, in many cases, they end up elsewhere being enslaved by the traffickers to different ends. What we can say for sure here at Lofi Poli Sci, may all people find peace in their life, wherever it is we are going. Next up, source, AP News International, and keeping with stories of human trafficking. Police arrest 26 people in UK truck deaths of 39 Vietnamese. To clarify the headline, last year 39 Vietnamese migrants were found deceased in a truck in the UK. The driver of that truck pleaded guilty to manslaughter last month. The 26 arrests that took place today happened in France and Belgium, as this was the route that the traffickers used to get the Vietnamese migrants into the UK. The implications. This tragic story illustrates just how dangerous using smugglers is in order to get into a country. The arrested traffickers could face up to 15 years for each victim, meaning theoretically they could face each 589 years in prison. We'll be following the developments of this story very closely to see how far the breaking up of illegal smuggling routes in Europe will really go. And now it's time for our country profile of the day, featuring Tanzania. Geography lesson, Lo-Fi Nation. Tanzania is a south-central Eastern African country, bordered by Kenya and Uganda to the north, the Democratic Republic of Congo to the west, Zambia, Malawi, and Mozambique to the south, and the Indian Ocean to the east. Tanzania became an independent state in 1961 after decolonization, but officially became Tanzania in 1964 after merging with Zanzibar. The country has a 2018 World Bank GDP per capita of just over $1,000 a year. Freedom House, covering civil liberties and civil rights around the world, gives the country a 2019 score of 45 out of 100 and a partly free rating. Reporters Without Borders, ranking 180 countries and territories across the globe by media freedoms, in 2019 gave Tanzania the place of 118. In 2020, it's dropped further to 124 out of 180. And Transparency International, with its ranking of 180 countries and territories across the globe via their Corruption Perception Index, places the country at 96 out of 180 as far as levels of corruption in the government and the business world. To summarize, the country is still young, still developing its economy, and as recently as 2015 with the election of the president, we're seeing decreases in democratic standards in the country. Now, what's been happening in Tanzania? As covered by the BBC Africa section, Tanzanian comedian in court after laughing at president. Last week, we covered the story of the Tanzanian comedian Idris Sultan after being arrested for cybercrime laws being broken for looking at a picture of the president in a video and laughing at the picture of the president. After being held for 1 week, he arrived in court today and was officially charged with using a SIM card registered in someone else's name. The implications. The president has been cracking down on media freedoms and criticism in the country. This serves as an example of how governments will arrest people and charge them with one thing, but really use them as an example to others in an effort to increase self-censorship in the country. We'll be watching with great interest to see how this story develops. We have our eyes on you, Tanzania. And now for our headline in the Spotlight segment. Source, Reuters World News. Hong Kong police arrest 300 as thousands protest over security law. We've been talking a lot about Hong Kong lately, and as of these developments, that's not likely to change. Protest, pro-democracy movements, authoritarian regimes cracking down on their people. This is the real and the raw of the world, that in which must be spoken of. Not to do so would be a disservice to those fighting for their rights. The background and implications of this story. Hong Kong is supposed to be autonomous until 2047, as agreed upon by the UK and China during decolonization of the city in 1997. The new law proposed would make it illegal to disrespect the Chinese national anthem and potentially allow Beijing intelligence agencies to set up shop in Hong Kong. It is unclear, however, what else is in the law, as most of it is being kept behind closed doors. The 300 people that were arrested today are charged with illegal assembly, it appears. Illegal assembly. Please, China, just say it. You're arresting people because they're speaking their mind. And when that doesn't coincide with yours, you say illegal assembly. A question to you, students of Lofi Poli Sci. Do you think protesters in Hong Kong will be successful in stopping this bill from becoming law? Will Hong Kong remain autonomous until 2047? Write in. Let me hear you speak. There's no legal assembly in Lofi Nation. And a last piece of news from the BBC Science section. Dinosaur asteroid trajectory was perfect storm. The perfect storm, my ass, BBC. A tragic storm. A sad storm. That storm that wakes you up in the middle of the night, but isn't the nice calming rain that puts you back to sleep, but rather keeps you up when you have to go to work in an hour and all you want is 30 more minutes of sleep. The implications. An asteroid that wipes out about 75% of all living creatures is anything but perfect. That being said, another question to Lo-Fi Nation. We all know the movies are full of crap, but what if the asteroid never hit, and dinosaurs walked amongst us today? Would it be like Jurassic Park? Would it be like Planet of the Apes, and that dinosaurs would rule over humans? Write in and let me know your thoughts. And that's a brief snapshot of what's going on in the world today. A quick shout out to my new media peeps, looking forward to our journey together. And to everyone, everywhere on this Wednesday, always remember that Lo-Fi Poli Sci is more than just me. It's the we that we be. Write in with your questions, comments, or requests of countries for our news segments, or top 10 global list you want to see to Lofi Poli Sci at planetmail.com. That's Lofi, L-O-F-I, Poli, P-O-L-I, Sci, S-C-I, at planetmail.com. Let me say thank you so much for listening. Stay safe, wash those hands, and I'll see you on the next episode of the Lo-Fi Poli Sci podcast. Pickering, signing off.